Alright, what is up my Shadowverse soldiers? Welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolve video. And alright soldiers, in this video we're going to be going over the set 11 Bullet of Fate Havencraft reveals. I'm very excited to talk about Havencraft because Havencraft has lots of components of having control, lots of components of having storm, and then lots of components of having ward. So there's lots of things happening for Havencraft. As far as what Havencraft Wasteland is going to come up for set 11, I am not sure what any of these cards do. So as we go along, I'm going to figure out what kind of components they're going to go for different decks and stuff like that. But of course, enough of me rambling. Let's go ahead and get into our first card. Starting with our first card, we have Selena Sugarkiss Assassin. So she's a 4-cost 2/2. She has Storm, and when she also comes into play fanfare, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck. From among them, you may put up to 1 Wasteland card and up to 1 follower that costs 2 or less into your EX area, for the rest on the bottom in any order. She also has a strike ability, so when she swings, you can recover 2 play points. Alright, so if I'm counting correctly, I do believe this card has a 5-in-1 special here for 4 play points. So for 4, you do get the Storm Follower. On top of that, you get to look at the top 2 cards. You get to put those 2 cards into your EX area. With the strike ability, you get to recover those 2 play points to play said card that costs 2 or less in your EX area to get those play points back. You get those fanfares, and that is the 5th card if I'm correct. But this is a lot to be doing on turn 4, I will be saying. Now, it's okay to probably miss on the Wasteland card. To get 2 bodies on the field on turn 4 while also getting the 2 play points is very vital. And on top of that, having this as a Storm Follower, so if you pair this up with like Ruby Falcon, it's going to be very amazing to ping for that extra damage. Alrighty, next up we have Anvil Judgment's Cannon. So it's a 6-cost 4/5. You can evolve it from 1 and it has ward, but when it comes into play, you select with the 2 enemy followers on the field and deal them 3 damage. And if there's a Wasteland card in your EX area, you can deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so with what we saw with Selena earlier, having that Wasteland card into your EX area actually is going to be your game plan. So it looks like you're going to at least keep at least 1 Wasteland follower in your EX area. So when you play cards like Judgment Cannon, you can deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. Alright, and then we have the Judgment Cannon's evolved form. So he turns into a 5/6 and he still has ward, but on evolve you select up to 2 enemy followers on the field and you deal them 3 damage. And if there's a Wasteland card in your EX area, deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so essentially you're going to be dealing a total of 6 damage to 2 followers being able to play this card, and then on top of that dealing a total of 4 to the enemy leader while evolving this card as well. And then on top of that you get a nice big body with a 5/6 ward. Alrighty, next up we have Vengeful Sniper. So she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve her from 1 and she has ward, but when she comes into play, if there are at least 2 amulets on your field and or in your EX area, you can deal 2 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so some support here for the amulet deck. So just being able to spend 3 to deal 2 damage to an enemy leader is pretty good, while also having a ward on the field for some good defense is pretty solid. Alright, so looking at the Vengeful Sniper evolve, so she turns into a 4/4 and she still has ward, but on evolve you select an enemy follower with 3 defense or less on the field and banish it. Alright, so mind yourself soldiers, these are some cards that have some pretty good removal on them. So as long as you've done damage to a follower, or at least that follower hits that 3 or less defense, you can go ahead and banish it. That means it doesn't get its last words, it's off the field, you don't have to worry about it coming back, unless it's the Pale Moon deck. Alright soldiers, if you have been paying attention, a lot of these followers actually are Faith, and like Selena that we looked at earlier, these are a lot of cards that you're able to get off of with the White Fang Temple ability. Alrighty, next up we have Paladin of Clemency. So it's a 2-cost 2/2. When it comes into play, you give your leader +1 defense. You draw a card and then discard a card. You can also activate for 2 play points to select enemy fall on the field and deal it 2 damage while giving your leader +1 defense. Alright, so I know I may sound like an old head when I talk about this card, but this literally screams Alana's Prayer. So if you're really trying to do your best with Alana's Prayer, it just got another bit of support here. Just because you're able to heal 1, you can proc Alana's Prayer, while also being able to filter by drawing a card and discarding a card. And then in the early game, of course, you want to take care of your opponent's followers, so when they play a 3/2 with Rush, and if it does not have a sail, you can really crack back on a very nice 2 play points with this card by just dealing it 2 damage and then, cracking Alana's Prayer again if you need to. And of course, I know that situation might be very niche, but of course, just being able to have this natural fanfare by healing 1 and then proccing it is just too good to pass up. Alrighty, next up we have Holy Sanctuary. So it's a 5-cost amulet, and this card doesn't refresh during your start phase. So whenever your leader gains defense, you can refresh this card. You can activate to engage this card. You can choose one that you haven't chosen this turn. You can either 1, select the enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage. 2, select a follower on your field and give it +1/+1, or 3, summon a Holy Tiger token. So mind you, this is a fat amulet that will sit on the field continuously and will always not refresh unless you're able to gain defense. So whenever you gain defense, you're able to just go ahead and refresh this card, and you can keep actually choosing these multiple times. So mind you, you can only do it a maximum of 3 times because you can do it only the amount of times you haven't chosen the other abilities. So you can only do 3 of the abilities in one turn. But however, with all these things you're able to choose from, there's lots of variety to choose from. So there's 2 forms of removal and 1 form of buff, which is actually pretty good to push for some good damage. But I really am kind of wondering how you're going to be healing multiple times while also cracking this multiple times in a turn. Alright, next up we have Set, so it's a 6 cost 2/6. You can evolve it from one and it has Ward, Bane, and Aura. You can also activate for 1 play point to discard this card to give your leader +2 defense. Alright, so we're looking at a lot of cards that are going to be healing us, so they're going to be proccing that Holy Sanctuary very easily. So as long as we can get that Holy Sanctuary out pretty easily, we can be using cards like this for 1 play point to go ahead and pitching it, giving our leader +2 defense, refreshing that card, and we can get another ability. And on top of that, with this late game aspect of a card, this is a pretty good card to sit back on with Ward, Bane, and Aura, just because they can't target this card. It's going to be warded up, and it doesn't really matter the type of stats that this card is going to have, just because it's going to have Bane, so as long as it connects with the follower, it's just going to be immediately removed. And looking at Set Evolve, so it turns into a 3/7 and it still has Ward, Bane, and Aura, but on Evolve you give your leader +4 defense. Alright, so of course, it looks like in this deck you're going to be healing a lot, so why wouldn't your evolved follower that is very defensive give you more health? And already next up we have Shady Priest, so he's a 1 cost 2/1. When he comes into play Fanfare, you put a Dutiful Steed token into your EX area, and whenever a mount card you control leaves the field, you can spend 3 extra play points to select enemy following the field and banish it. So mind you, of course, it's going to be attached to some harder removal when removing the mount card in the later turns, but as early as turn 1, you can turn this card into a 3/2 because a Dutiful Steed token will give a Wasteland follower the +1/+1, so that's pretty aggressive on turn 1. Alright, but looking at the Dutiful Steed token, so it's the 1 cost amulet you can activate to bury this card. You can select a follower on your field, and if it's a Wasteland follower, you can give it +1/+1. So of course, just like I explained with the Shady Priest, you can turn him into a 3/2 as early as turn 1. Alrighty, next up we have Haven Fire, so it's a 2 cost spell. This card costs 1 less to play if there's a Selena Sugar Kiss Assassin on your field. You can select the enemy follower on the field and deal it 4 damage, and if there's a Wasteland card in your EX area, you can deal 1 damage to its leader. Alright, so with the Selena card, it looks like this is going to be the optimal card that you're going to be getting, because obviously you're going to recover those 2 play points with the Storm. You're able to actually play this card for 1 less, so you can play an extra card if you have the extra play points, of course, and then while selecting an enemy following the field, dealing it 4 damage, as long as you have that Wasteland card that you searched with the Selena earlier, of course, you can deal the 1 damage to the enemy leader. And already next up we have Enchanted Knight, so it's a 1 cost 1/1. You can evolve it for 1 and it has Ward. So pretty nice in the Storm Ward deck. I wonder what this evolve is going to do for this card. So looking at the Enchanted Knight evolve, so he turns into a 2/2 with Ward, but on evolve, if there's at least 4 followers with Ward on your field, you can draw 2 cards. So you can have 2 very good reasons to evolve this card. 1, to get the 2/2 Goblin to swing with and having the Ward, but then having this on evolve, if you have at least 4 followers with those wards on your field, counting himself as well, you can draw 2 cards to, keep getting the engine going for the aggressive Ward / Storm route that you're going. Alrighty, next up we have Revolver Eagle, so it's a 2 cost 2/1. It has Storm, but when it comes into play, put a Bullet Bike token into your EX area. You can also activate for 6 play points to give this follower +4/+4. Alright, so as late as turn 8, you can turn this into a 6/5 with Storm, which is a lot of damage to be taking to the face on the same turn that it's played. But being able to turn this into a 3/1 with Storm as early as turn 2 is actually pretty good as well. And just to give you soldiers a reminder, a Bullet Bike is a 1 cost amulet. You can activate to bury this card. You can select a follower on your field and give it Rush, and if it's a Wasteland follower, you can give it +1 attack. So of course, like I said, with the Eagle, you can turn it into a 3/1 with Storm on turn 2, which is very strong. Alrighty, next up we have Sacred Stone Apostle, so she's a 1 cost 1/2. When she comes into play Fanfare, if there's an amulet on your field, you can give this follower +1/+1. She also has a strike ability, so when she swings, you can draw a card and discard a card. And so having a nice amulet on your field is going to do you some wonder, so this is some support for the amulet deck. So being able to turn this into a 2/3 with 1 play point is pretty nice, while also having the strike ability to go ahead and draw a card and discard and filter is very nice as well. Alrighty, next up we have Benevolent Blight, so it's a 4 cost spell. You can deal 2 damage to each enemy following the field and then give your leader +2 defense while drawing a card. Alright, so the new John dropped, so this kind of is like what John does, but it's attached to a body. But in the form of getting the spell card, you're now going to be healing 2 and then plussing 1 card, or just, netting neutral by getting rid of the card that you use. And then also digging through your deck by just getting back the same card in a way. So you're just kind of digging through your deck while also healing and then, pinging the board for 2. Alright, and lastly, we have Pure Metamorphosis, so it's a 1-cost spell. You can select a card on your field and destroy it, and then you can summon a Holy Falcon token. Alright, so mind you that it does say card, so those amulets that have those last words, you can get rid of them. Those last words are going to pop off. You get a Holy Falcon token that can also, you know, go in tandem with the last words. Of course, there are some cards that I'm thinking of. You guys know what I'm thinking of, you Havencraft players. But having a Holy Falcon token while pairing it up with those last words for some cards is going to be very strong. Alrighty, and then we have our Havencraft UR or Ultimate, whichever the Altard, whichever you want to call it in terminology terms. So this is the wife, so it's going to be paired up with the husband. So the husband has the alternate card, and we will be doing that next in the Runecraft reveals, so we can see the other half of it, of course. So I hope anyone that's going to be looking forward to getting the Havencraft one gets the Havencraft one. And, you know, if you have a little bit of OCD like I do and you need to have a complete set, so you need the Runecraft one, I hope you're able to partake in getting the Runecraft one as well, so you have the complete set. And if you don't need that stuff, then, you know, that's fine too. I can understand from that aspect as well. But alright, soldiers, that is it for all of the reveals for Havencraft in set 11. I'm very excited for this set to come out this week. Of course, we're going to be able to finish all the set reveals by the end of this week, and then on Thursday, I'm planning on having a podcast. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get all the questions and everybody accounted for, because this time I'm actually going to have people with me, like not on by myself on the other videos, like on the discussion ones. I'm not really having a bouncing of ideas, so I really do want to get some more people in the community talking about like Shadowverse Evolved, so I really do want to get Leonidas vlogs like rolling here. But of course, soldiers, like always, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me that you are watching these videos. I hope Shadowverse Evolved can get a little bit better, because we are in a little bit of a weird spot right now, but we'll get into that, of course, on Thursday or in the podcast before the set comes out, because you know how we do with the Leonidas logs. We are going to try our best before the new set comes out to talk about everything that's happened in the past, everything that's going to be happening in the future, and everything that's going to be happening with to come for Shadowverse Evolved. But alright, soldiers, I love you absolutely so much. I hope you are all safe in whatever you do tonight, and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. TRINN. Just to